Thanks, Lawrence, and thanks for everybody here for sacrificing a valuable Saturday to hear about all of these interesting companies. As Lawrence said, I am the President and CEO of Northern Tiger. We're a Yukon-focused gold exploration company, exploring an exciting new high-grade gold discovery at 3ACE in the southeast Yukon. We've also optioned the Sprague property from Newmont in Alexico. It is adjacent to 3ACE and hosts its own kilometer-scale gold and soil anomaly. We're also looking at a large porphyry system at Sonora Gulch in the central Yukon, and we have a strategic alliance with Capstone Mining, who have the operating Minto mine in the central Yukon. I'm just going to speak briefly about what's been dubbed the new Yukon Gold Rush. The top chart gives the historical exploration expenditures in the Yukon. As you can see, 10 years ago there was under $10 million a year being spent in the territory. It's recently exploded. $160 million was a record year in 2010, and it's estimated the 2011 numbers are going to come in the neighborhood of $300 million. So quite an explosion of activity there. It's primarily been on the back of three very interesting new grassroots discoveries. It's those grassroots discoveries that really generate a lot of excitement. So it started with Underworld Resources. They were later taken out by Kinross, and then more recently, Kaminak and Attack have kind of taken up the ball and are the flag bearers for the new Yukon Gold Rush. All three of those companies have had some very significant new discoveries and have been rewarded their shareholders very well. The bottom chart demonstrates something else that we like about the Yukon. And essentially, there's been three companies in the last 5 years that have been able to move very rapidly through the permitting and construction process to get into production. So not only can you find new deposits in the Yukon, you can mine them as well. This is our management team. I'm a chartered accountant. The other four members of our board are all professional geos. Most have junior pubco to mining company experience, and particularly extensive experience in northern Canada. And we also, I'll point out, we have Chief McMillan as an advisor to our boards. We have a very good First Nations relations base. And down to our VPX, Dennis Ouellette. He lives with us in Edmonton, where our head office is now, but he has 30 years experience living and working in the Yukon. So we feel we're very well positioned to maneuver with all of the excitement that's going on up there. Shares issued, we have 99 million shares out, 108 fully diluted. Our largest shareholders are Sprott from here in Toronto and Trellis Funds from New York. They each have about 5%. And we also get a lot of support from a group associated with Haywood in Vancouver, who, as a small group, have about 15% of the company. This just shows where our principal projects are in the Yukon: Sonora Gulch in the central Yukon, and then our new flagship project, 3ACE, in the southeast. Couple of pictures from 3ACE. Top picture shows a drill rig up on the main zone, and the important thing to note there is the road down in the valley. So the road that was built to go up to the operating Canton tungsten mine crosses right through the 3ACE property, so we have excellent access by Yukon standards. Bottom picture shows Mr. Alex McMillan. He's the First Nations prospector we optioned the property from. He's also the father of the chief, and hence the chief being on our or as an advisor to our board. And Alex is standing next to the outcropping discovery vein, which has actually returned the highest hard rock assays to ever come out of the Yukon. This is a drill map from our main zone. Drilling to date is concentrated primarily on the main zone. We've been rewarded with some pretty excellent hits, including our very first hit at the top, which was drilled late in 2010, where we got 30 meters of 4.3 grams. We've had a number of other very strong hits this year, including, I guess, the highlight hole is 16, where we got 35 meters of 4.5 grams. So the main zone, we're getting a very good handle on the structural controls there. It is wide open in both directions and also down dip. This is kind of an illustration, I guess, of the structure and the model that we have going at 3ACE. So the main zone is essentially gold hosted in a steeply dipping shear structure. We believe we're dealing with an orogenic gold system. And one of the great features, I guess, of orogenic gold systems is that they tend to have great continuity to depth. So we believe we have potential for a lot of depth extension on this deposit. So we've been pretty encouraged by the drilling we've had to date, for sure, in the main zone. But this map really highlights, I guess, why we're excited about the property. You can see we've got a cluster of holes at the main zone and a couple of sporadic holes in other places. But we've now outlined a 9 square kilometer gold and soil anomaly. In conjunction with that soil anomaly, we've also collected literally dozens of rock samples that have assayed from multi-gram to actually multi-ounce over that 9 square kilometers. You can see some of the highlight numbers there, and you know those very high-grade gold is dispersed widely over that area. Stepping back even one step further on the property, you can see where we've done our soil sampling there, kind of in the center. And this map represents our whole 225 kilometer square property block, and is a silt sample we did over the property this spring. The drainage is draining our core area that we've soil sampled, and also the Sprague anomaly over on the southeast, of course, lit up as one would expect, but we're pretty encouraged by the fact that another dozen drainages on the property returned significantly anomalous gold and silts as well. So we think it bodes quite well for additional discoveries to be made on our larger land package. So that's 3ACE. It's kind of become our flagship project based on the tenor of the mineralization we've seen there, but we also have a number of other projects in the central Yukon. In particular, I'll talk about Sonora Gulch right in the middle. Now, this area is more of the heart of the new Yukon gold rush, where you have Underworld, now owned by Kinross, at number 1. You have Kaminak's Coffee Project at number 2. Number 3 is a billion-ton porphyry owned by Western Copper. Number 4 is Northern Free Gold, where they have several million-ounce resource outlined on their porphyry system. Smaller copper deposit at number 5, and then the operating Minto mine with the mining symbol. So this is definitely a nice address to be in. Sonora Gulch, we are exploring a large porphyry system. Coincidentally, we also have a 9 square kilometer gold and soil anomaly there. Past drilling at Sonora Gulch has hit high-grade gold in 3 different zones. In 2011, we hit something new at Sonora Gulch, some very wide intercepts of bulk tonnage mineralization starting right at surface, including 234 meters of a half-gram gold equivalent. Historically, we've been focusing basically on the epithermal gold, kind of on the edges of the system at Sonora Gulch, but what's really come into play there now is identifying it as a larger porphyry system. To that end, we've done a bit of work. We've done a Titan 24 IP survey, deep sensing IP survey. It's identified numerous high-priority targets that have remained to be drill tested. We know that the intrusions at Sonora Gulch are 75 million years old, which is the same age as the ones were bookended at Casino and at Northern Free Gold. So it looks like a nice porphyry belt shaping up there. And we also had an independent group from Toronto, a porphyry expert from Watts Griffiths McWatt, do a 43101 compilation of Sonora Gulch. He essentially agreed with where we were heading on there, and that it was a large multi-center porphyry system, and he recommended 16,000 meters of drilling to test both the porphyry targets and structurally hosted gold mineralization that's related to the porphyry. This is my disclaimer, and thanks again for your time, and I'll be at the booth if anybody has any questions or would like any further information.